You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Thursday and it's time for, I got a frog in my throat. The Reefer Reporters with myself, Cindy Howell, and my joint host over here, Glenn Prentice. We have 9 cannabis stories lined up, and we have our Mushie moment. We've got a story in our Mushie moment. And we are here live from the Legacy420.com news desk at the Pace Radio Network. And it is, gosh, look at the date, Cindy, October 27th, 2022. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning. It's almost November, and it's about 18 degrees outside of my window, so I love that. It's a little wet.
I was out with a dog this morning in my tank top.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's almost November on the East Coast.
Yeah. And then I was out on the West Coast. Of course, I just got back on Tuesday. And when I left there, I was freezing. It was so cold out there. I mean, I was putting layers on. I had 2 sweatshirts and a jacket and a long sleeve shirt, and I was still chilly.
That's opposite of what normally is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really strange. And of course, they had a late starting spring, and now they've got an early starting fall. And for them, it's really strange. It's kind of like we have flipped grow seasons.
Yeah.
So
my season was ruined anyway. We had some really early October frosts.
Yeah, and then it was really damp. People either lost to frost. I've been hearing a lot of that, and I've been hearing even more lost to mold again this year on the East Coast because it is extremely damp down here, and it's just not good for growing. It's it makes it really hard, and mold sets in before the buds are done.
That's the problem here.
Yeah, for sure. We have 10 stories on tap, 5 before the break, 5 after the break, so we should probably get to them, hey? Sure. I'm clicking buttons. We are heading over to Strachan to start off. London, Ontario area cannabis stores are facing string of break-ins.
And several cannabis stores in London, Ontario say they've been the victims of break-ins in recent days and weeks. The targeted stores have had their front doors, back doors, or windows broken into, with products stolen from the display cases. Jesus Panther, a supervisor at the cannabis shop on Richmond Street in London, says someone broke into their store in the early morning of October 26th. The person or persons broke the glass at the store's entrance, breaking through 2 doors before taking products from inside display cases. Panther says that at least the second break-in of this nature of the business has experienced in the last 6 months or so. The issue isn't just about cannabis stores, he says, although he suspects cannabis stores are an easy target because products can be easily liquidated.
Yeah, it's we had an issue here in Nova Scotia when we had a lot of gray market dispensaries.
Yeah, people
tried to rob them because they figured, like, they're quote unquote illegal, and they weren't going to report it to the RCMP. But of course, people did. Like, I mean, when they got violently robbed, they did call the RCMP.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, who got charged when they called the RCMP? But the people working in the dispensary, because that's the way it should be. When you get robbed, you should get charged.
That's the way it works here. Or the way it used to work here. How's that?
Yeah, with cannabis stores. To be honest, everybody in London these days, if you're on Richmond Street, you've got to deal with it. There's really no distinction between cannabis stores, restaurants, and retail stores of any fashion. It's just a crime of opportunity. Another cannabis store in the London area, Forest City Marijuana on Dundas, recently posted 2 videos on their Instagram account showing a handful of individuals breaking in. Several individuals can be seen smashing 2 layers of glass to enter. Holy crow. An employee at Ripe Puff Cannabis on Commissioners Road in London told Strachan that the business experienced 2 such break-ins in the last month, just 9 days apart from each other. Holy. Like several other retailers who spoke with Strachan, the employee said the damage to the store was worth more than the product taken from the display cases.
Yeah. A manager at the Tokyo Smoke on Commissioners Road in London said they faced the same type of break-in weeks ago, with their entrance glass and several display cases broken. While the crooks only stole a few $100s in product, Manager Ryan Ridsdale says they caused thousands of dollars in damage. An employee at Treetops Cannabis on Killally Road in London says they also faced a similar break-in recently, but little cannabis was taken, as they don't keep much in their display cases. An employee at the Cannabis Link Highbury, who, like many other people StratCan spoke to for the story, asked not to be named, said they also had lost a small amount of cannabis in a recent break-in, noting that most of their product remained secured in a locked back room. I'm assuming that's what most of them do at nighttime anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like they leave the displays, but anything big is in the back. And I mean, I've noticed that when I've gone to dispensaries in Ontario, the legal dispensaries in Ontario, I will order something. Hi, I'd like to, I'd like to buy the Shatterizer shatter. Thank you very much. They have to go in back and get it, and then they come back out front. So they only have like display stuff up, and a lot of them, for these reasons, are switching to empty cases in their display, so they don't have to like. Yeah, and to me that makes sense too. Everything ends up locked in the back, and that might help them avoid such break-ins, right? Oh, it seems, did you read that one? It seems that the locations are hurting.
Nope, you're in the right spot.
I smoked one before we started, so bear with me. It seems that the locations that are hurting more are the ones that have their products locked in display cases in the showroom, the employees told StratCan. Luckily, we don't have much on the floor, so they didn't take a whole lot, but it sounds like it has been more severe for other stores. The employee also said that they think the issue is a good I think this issue is a good reason to remove the covered window regulations for cannabis stores in Ontario. Alberta and British Columbia have recently removed such restrictions due in part to concerns with robberies and break-ins. Yeah, I didn't even notice that in BC, to be honest. But yeah, in Ontario, they're all covered. Like everything's blacked out. You can't see in the windows.
Oh yeah, you don't want to see cannabis. It might corrupt you.
Yeah, and when you walk in, they have it so if the door is open, like there's another blockade there. So when you walk in, the only thing you see is a blockade, and you have to go around the blockade to get in the store. So even if people, like when people are opening the doors that are covered, you still can't see anything. Yeah, it's quite crazy. So but I didn't notice in British Columbia if they took them down or not. I'll have to look the next time I'm there. London police.
I've noticed they do the same thing in liquor stores here. They have the two doors, and you can't really see into the liquor store, see what's in there at all.
Oh yeah, our liquor stores are open.
Okay.
Like you can see in all the windows, but the cannabis section of our liquor stores are in behind another door.
Oh, so your cannabis stores are connected to the liquor store.
You have to go in through the liquor store to hit the cannabis stores here in Nova Scotia.
See, here in New Brunswick, we don't have that. We have separate stores.
We are the only province in Canada that mixes them.
Wow, that's I didn't know that.
And it's for somebody like me who is a reformed alcoholic. It's really fucking hard to buy legal cannabis because and excuse me for swearing, I do apologize, but it is really effing hard for somebody like me to buy legal cannabis. The last thing I want to do is walk past what I'm addicted to get my medicine to help me not be addicted to what I'm addicted to.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I never thought of it. This is my learning moment again.
Yeah. So, walking into a liquor store is insane for me. So, there is one that the cannabis store that I know of that the cannabis store is right up front. So I actually don't have to walk through. I'm off to the side and the door is right there. I don't actually have to go in by the alcohol. And so when I want to, I've got a few friends that own licensed producers and sell them in legal stores. So I've gone in to buy their stuff, but I go to this specific spot, which is in Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia, by the way, just in case any other reformed alcoholics want to go purchase something in Nova Scotia. It's right by the door. So you walk in the main door and then you can go to the right and walk in the cannabis store, and you don't have to go dealing with all the booze. So when I want to purchase my friend's products, that is where I go.
I had never thought of that. And it's a very true. There's a lot of recovering alcoholics that use cannabis. I never thought of that. It's incredible. You shouldn't have to walk through that.
No, here in Nova Scotia, it's like we're tortured.
Wow.
Yeah. London police were not immediately available for comment. Of course they weren't. Robberies of cannabis stores have occurred sporadically for years now in Canada. Police in Ontario reported a handful of similar break-ins of cannabis stores earlier this year, with large quantities of cannabis products stolen. That's why they lock them in the back now.
Yeah. In October 2021, a cannabis store in Toronto was robbed with numerous cannabis products stolen, prompting Toronto police to put out an alert. Alberta has seen a handful of cannabis store robberies and burglaries. In September, a Calgary cannabis store was robbed. In December 2020 and January 2021, 2 other Calgary area cannabis retailers were also robbed. In June of last year, 4 men robbed a cannabis store at gunpoint, and in February, a man allegedly assaulted an employee and robbed a BC cannabis store in Oliver, BC. According to a recent CBC report, there were 29 cannabis store robberies last year in Alberta and 10 so far this year. Almost half of these instances involved violence or threats of violence. I'm wondering how this compares to robberies at other retail establishments.
I think corner stores still have the cannabis shops shamed because I mean corner stores. I mean they're getting robbed every weekend.
Yeah,
You know
gas
what I mean?
stations and
Gas stations and corner stores. And honestly, I mean, I'm really sad that they are like these are involve violence or threats of violence. I mean, some of them have, but I mean, 29 stores were robbed. There were 29 robberies in Alberta last year. Alberta is a big province. So I bet you if we looked at how many corner stores and gas stations were robbed, we'd be in the thousands.
Many. Yeah, I think you're right.
And only 10 so far this year. That's really good. But I mean, it's a lot of it is probably because a lot of the product is stored in the back in a locked room.
Yeah, makes
sense.
sense.
What I mean?
Yeah.
So, fingers crossed that it continues to go down. It's gone from 29 to only 10 so far this year. We have a couple of months left. But yeah, if we start putting out, if we listen to me, like I own a store, if they start putting out empty packs for display and then keep everything locked in back, I think you'll see the numbers go way, way, way down. It's too bad that, other stores couldn't do that as well. Right. Cause like, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, I feel bad for the people. I worked in a convenience store once that was robbed, and it was absolutely terrifying when I was robbed. Yeah.
I've never experienced that.
Yeah. It's not fun.
I did have a gun pulled on me, but I never experienced a robbery.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you then you still have half an understanding, at least, if not more, right? Police in BC said a couple robbed a cannabis store in Kelowna in November. In September, an Alberta cannabis store was robbed. Robberies of cannabis stores are not limited to legal retailers. Of course not. In BC in early 2020, a masked man robbed an unlicensed cannabis store in Abbotsford. In 2016, a Vancouver cannabis dispensary was also robbed at gunpoint. In May of 2015, thieves broke into the same store by crashing a van through the front window. I think I remember that story. Another unlicensed dispensary in Vancouver was robbed in 2019. Right before legalization in 2018, a cannabis store owner in Ontario fought off several robbers with a bong. And I remember that one too. They had it on video and shared the video. He picked up a very thick bong and chased out the robbers. It was incredible.
First story I've ever heard of that was foiled by a bong.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. But yeah, like I mean, it's a new field. Even the gray market dispensaries that were popping up years ago, brand new field. People were coming out of the woodwork to rob them, figuring that okay, well they're an underground cannabis store or gray market cannabis store, legacy cannabis store, whatever you want to give them as a title. They were figuring that these people are under the illegal side of it, so they're not going to call the cops. But everybody still did.
Yeah, and then they got arrested.
Wow, Al Graham is listening to us, and he said he had a gun pointed at his head during a robbery, and they took $365 from him. That's freaking terrifying.
Wow.
So
So two out of the 3 of us have been robbed at gunpoint. Imagine that. And we're Canadians.
Yeah, and you've been at gunpoint too, just not robbed.
Well, it wasn't a robbery. It was more like get off my property.
Yeah, well, it's still scary to have a gun pointed at you no matter what, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yep. We are heading over to the Fresh Toast. I love this publication. Florida's Department of Health makes it clear they haven't approved Circle K weed.
Yeah. Last week, Circle K made headlines when they shared their plans to sell cannabis out of their gas stations. This week, Florida's health department is slowing things down. The Washington Examiner spoke with the state's health department, which made it clear that the partnership between Circle K and Green Thumb Industries has yet to be approved. The project is not being approved by the state, the department said. Florida has never approved a medical marijuana treatment center to operate out of a gas station. Last week, Green Thumb shared a press release where they discussed their plans for expansion and their new partnership with Circle K, a convenience store chain headquartered in Canada.
Canada. I mean, I'm sorry, that would be great. You're on your way home, you're really tired, you want one stop, you get gas, you get milk, you get your weed, off you go home, and yeah, wouldn't that be phenomenal? I think it would be great.
We can, especially down there, you can buy liquor on in the corner store. You can buy beer almost anywhere you want, but you can't buy cannabis there. Doesn't make sense.
It's the same. I mean, Newfoundland, Quebec, Nova Scotia, we're starting to have liquor stores in all of our corner stores, like gas stations. Like, I mean, I can probably name off 20 of them, without even really thinking hard.
Yeah, here too.
So yeah. So why shouldn't we be able to stop in and get our 6-pack of beer and our 3.5 grams of cannabis and our milk and our loaf of bread and fill up the car with gas and then just head home?
Well, I know when I go to Sobeys or any of the stores here, I can buy beer. There's a whole bloody aisle now.
In Sobeys? In New Brunswick?
Sobeys, in all the grocery stores here. Every single one has aisles of beer. And even I was in, I can't even remember the store, but I was in Atlantic Superstore yesterday. And right in front of the self-checkout, there's a whole row of beer you can buy. The entire row.
In Nova Scotia, we have the non-alcoholic stuff in our grocery stores.
Yeah.
But alcohol is at the liquor stores or in some convenient stores type thing. But we don't.
They just changed it here. I think it was a year ago.
Wow.
But it's incredible. Like any store, any big
That's
grocery
what
store.
I need as an alcoholic, is to be able to walk into Sobeys and buy beer.
Yeah.
I'm not being pummeled with it enough everywhere else. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Per the press release, Green Thumb's marijuana brand Rise Dispensaries would expand its medical access in Florida. Starting in 2023, Green Thumb plans to launch its test and learn phase of the rollout with approximately 10 Rise Express branded dispensaries adjacent to Circle K stores in various Florida locations, reads the release. While the cannabis sales would be operating out of the gas station, wouldn't be operating out of the gas station, it's the next best thing. The opening of Rise Express stores and Circle K locations is a game changer. Convenience is a strong channel in retail, and people want more access to cannabis, said Ben Cobbler, who is the founder of Green Thumb. The new Rise Express model is a huge step forward in making it easier and more efficient for patients to purchase high-quality cannabis as part of their everyday routine when stopping at the local convenience store. I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you, Ben, and yay for Ben. I think that's great. I can't wait till that comes to Canada at Circle K.
Did you notice how the government's press release said we haven't authorized any sales out of a gas station, but the press release from Green Thumb and the Circle K has nothing to do with the gas station. It's next to the gas station and won't be sold at the gas station. Circle
K may own the property and rent to this place, but that's what it sounds to me like. It's like, I mean, like here in Nova Scotia, I if I go to say here in my hometown, I go up to the Atlantic Superstore. There's a liquor store there, but it's in a separate. It's an attached building, but it's a separate entrance and it's a separate room. It's a separate store, and I think that's what they're talking about here.
Yeah, it sounds to me like that, but the government's putting it as, they're trying to sell it out of the gas stations,
Yeah, this isn't the first time Circle K has incorporated cannabis into its business plans. In Canada, its parent company launched a partnership with cannabis retailer Fire and Flower, launching pickup spots in various locations. I did not know that they were part of Fire and Flower. That's amazing. Maybe we will have Fire and Flower cannabis here at the Circle K's in Canada.
I love the name Fire and Flower.
Oh, they're great little stores, I got to tell you.
Never been there, but I just love the name.
Yep.
So we're done with that one?
Yes. While Circle K's marijuana plan may be on hold, the excitement that surrounds the issue is not. No, I'm excited. I'm just reading the flipping story for the first time, and I'm like, ooh. This pressure will likely move things along and stir plenty of conversation. Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's really exciting, for sure. Absolutely thrilling thing that may be happening, and I hope it continues to happen in Canada, because if they're part of Fire and Flower. I think it would be wonderful if if they did that with Fire and Flower here in Canada in various spots.
We
I'd
shall
love to
see.
be driving out to, like, you know, wherever and be able to pull in and get my gas and everything. Oh yeah, that would be fantastic. What a great idea. They are so smart.
I think it would be nice to be able to get a consistent product right across the country. And that would be perfect with me. If I find something that I like and I tend to stick with it.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of cannabis consumers are the same. You know, we like a product, so we stick with that product. I would love to be able to go across the country, get the same quality, the same product right across.
Yep. And it's just not the way. I mean, like when I went through New Brunswick, there are a lot of similar products in the New Brunswick cannabis that we have in Nova Scotia cannabis. But then I didn't even bother in Quebec, to be honest. When I was in Ontario, there were much fewer similar products. They had two, in most stores, they had two of the Nova Scotia LPs, but that was the only similarity. Out in BC, there's hardly any I didn't find one in the legal cannabis store that I could find here in Nova Scotia.
Wow.
So, I mean, I get what you're saying. It would be really nice that if one of my favorite legal producers is called Ghost Drops. They have 3 different growers, phenomenal product. I can get it in Ontario and in BC, but I can't get it anywhere in the Maritimes.
See, I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of McDonald's, but you get the same burger in McDonald's here as you do in Mexico. You know?
Yep.
That's what I would like to have that with cannabis.
Yep, it would be nice.
Not McDonald's cannabis though.
No. No, that would be terrible. And eventually, hopefully, we'll get there. I mean, we keep making steps forward, and hopefully, the steps will get bigger, and we will definitely get to that point. But for now, we're going to head over to Mugglehead magazine. I like this publication too. Curaleaf releases accessible dried flower brand.
Curaleaf Incorporated has released the Find brand aimed to provide accessible prices for high-quality cannabis in the United States. On Tuesday, the Massachusetts-based firm announced the launch of the brand that will carry 4 different kinds of dried flower presentations, including whole buds, small popcorn buds, shake, and pre-rolls. The products are now available at dispensaries in Massachusetts and will expand to Arizona, Illinois, Maine, Missouri, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania in the coming months. We're excited to welcome Find into our brand portfolio as the medical and adult use flower markets continue to mature, Curaleaf CEO Matt Darren said. With Find, we're expanding our reach by providing affordable, high-quality flower for patients and customers at all stages of their cannabis journey.
Wow. The company recently acquired Trike Companies, which does business as Reef dispensaries in Nevada and Arizona for $181 million. With the acquisition, the company will add 30,000 square feet of cultivation, which says it aims to expand to 80,000 over the next 3 years. The company also recently extended its international ties in Germany after acquiring part of the pot producer 420 Pharma. Under the deal announced this September, Curaleaf acquired 55% stake of the producer and is set to acquire complete control after 2 years of the start of adult use in Germany. Curaleaf stock went up by 0.26% Tuesday to $7.77 on the Canadian Securities Exchange.
Well, that's one story. At least their stock went up. Usually we read a story about they're doing really good and the stocks go down.
Yeah. But I mean, they're not done their expansion yet, so give it time.
That's what we were just talking about. They're going to be the same product in the whole multiple states. And I like that. If it's a good product.
If it's a good product. We'll have to find out over time, I guess, if it's good or not. Yeah. We're going to head back over to my favorite publication, The Fresh Toast. And the headline for this one kind of made me squint my eyes. Mother charged with murder after a 4-year-old dies from THC edibles.
The FDA said THC edibles can be easily mistaken for commonly consumed foods, such as breakfast cereal, candy, and cookies, and accidentally ingested, which can lead to adverse events, especially in children. Children falling ill from cannabis edibles is happening with more regularity as cannabis becomes mainstream, as some adults are irresponsibly careless. And while most of the time kids end up fully recovered, sometimes the things turn to real life horror story.
Dorothy Annette Clements, a 30-year-old mother from Virginia, has been charged with murder and felony child neglect after her 4-year-old son died as a result of THC poisoning after eating his mom's edibles, local police reported. Well, I feel really bad for this mom and the poor kid, right? Clements was arrested on Wednesday, 2 days after Spotsylvania Country Grand Jury indicted her for the death of her son. Tanner Clements died on May 8th after suffering a medical emergency. The attending physician told detectives from the Child Victims Unit in charge of the case that the boy would still be alive if he had received medical attention quickly after ingestion.
That's probably where the charges come from. She waited to get medical treatment by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Clements told police she called poison control after her son ate half of a CBD gummy. That's not true. She said representative told her he should be fine. Doctors then confirmed that an autopsy report showed a high level of THC was the cause of death, writes NBC Washington. What's more, detectives found an empty THC gummy jar in the house where Tanner was found. Clements faces up to 40 years in prison on murder charges. This seems like she reported that he ate half of a CBD gummy and not that he ate THC. Right. So he died because they didn't know that he had THC in his system, maybe.
Maybe. Poison Control warned that serious and sometimes life-threatening side effects can occur in children who consume cannabis edibles, which is why adults should keep these products out of reach from children. What should individuals do in case of adverse effects? The agency said it is engaged in finding the solution to the problem, constantly overseeing the market. It advises consumers to call 911 if somebody is having serious side effects from these products, to keep them out of children's reach, and to call the local poison control center if a child has consumed these products without waiting for symptoms to appear. Cannabis copycats. More common reports about poisoning from cannabis edibles consumption usually come out around Halloween and are unfounded. At this time of year, part of the blame goes to the companies producing copycat cannabis-infused products that look nearly identical to popular candy products. Well, a lot of those are, they buy generic, you can buy them on Wish, packages, like THC packages that, the fuzzy peach and then little tiny THC in the corner. And then people buy fuzzy peaches and inject oil or spray them with tincture or something, making them infused, and then put them in these packages that are identical to the non-infused packages with the little THC in the corner. And they get mistook all the time.
I'm having a real bad problem with my computer here. It says it's been shut down by Windows Defender Security. So might be a couple minutes before I can get this.
Okay, well, I'll keep reading. Break in with comments when you hear me talking if you want. In April, researchers at the NYU School of Global Public Health revealed that copycat edibles can have levels of THC that far exceed the limits set by the state cannabis regulations and may be easily confused for popular snack foods. Several weeks after, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, issued a warning to all consumers about the accidental ingestion by children of food products containing THC. Edibles are popular and are a popular and growing segment of the cannabis market. In states where cannabis use is legal, more than half, 56% actually, of people who use cannabis consume edibles, with younger people more likely to do so, reported NYU in a recent press release. These copycat cannabis products are a public health concern, given that people, including children, could mistake them for snacks and accidentally consume them. From 2017 to 2019, U.S. poison control centers handled nearly 2,000 cases of young children ages 0 to 9 consuming edibles. And I know a couple of kids. I know one child. I think she was 6 when she consumed an edible. She had a really, really bad night, but she by the next morning she was fine, and her anxiety was actually down for about a week after consuming the edible. And it was scary for the parents, but everything ended up okay, thankfully. And then it was a couple of years later, I know of 2 teenagers that consumed some THC cake, and they ended up, just fine. One got ill. He threw up because he ate too much, and the other one was okay. Neither of them wanted to do it, and but they ended up okay by the next morning. But again, it was not fun for everybody that had to watch. We were all pretty brokenhearted to have to view it for sure. The FDA said THC edibles can be easily mistaken for commonly consumed foods such as breakfast cereal, candy, and cookies, and accidentally ingest it, which can lead to adverse effects, especially in children. The agency further reiterated that some edible products are specifically designed to look like popular branded foods using similar brand names, logos, and packaging designs. And, I said that earlier. They can order them off Wish if they want. The packages, that is. The FDA is aware of reports of copycat products packaged to look like Captain Crunch, Cocoa Pebbles, Cocoa Puffs, Fruit Loops, Fruity Pebbles, Nerds Ropes, Starburst, Sour Patch Kids, and Trix, among so many others. From January 2021 to April 2022, the FDA received more than 100 adverse reports of both children and adults who consume THC-infused edibles. Some of those individuals had adverse effects like hallucinations, increased heart rate, which would come from the anxiety of it, and vomiting. And many ended up, I think that's supposed to read, many ended up in the hospital. The first time I went on an Iboga journey a year and a half ago, last summer, when you come out of Iboga, it strips your cannabinoid receptors. And I greened out. I had two, what they were called was canaritas. So they were like, nice frothy drinks. Glenn is completely gone. Hopefully he will be back soon. Nice, fluffy, nice drinks. And they were infused with cannabis instead of alcohol. They were absolutely phenomenal. I had two. And then when I tried to eat supper, it was really, really bad. I got very, very ill. Yeah. And it was pretty crazy. So it's not fun. I greened out pretty hard. I was really sick all night, and it's not fun. So greening out is not something that I that is should be taking lightly. It's really pretty gross. So be careful with your cannabis, and please make sure you watch labels so you know what is or isn't infused or how infused it is, etc. I'm coming back to StreamYard because I think I have Glenn back now. Hi, Glenn. Oh, you're muted, my friend. I can't hear you. No, you're still muted. I'm not sure what's going on.
There, can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are. Hello, welcome back. Welcome
I'm back. I don't know if I have the right stories here. I had to shut everything down and restart.
No worries. We're going to head over to where is this? This is the MSN story. Clean weed, creating organic buzz among cannabis users and growers.
Okay, clean weed. Give me a second here. I will find that story.
Sure. Yeah. No. And this is the last story before break. While he is looking up that story, I'll start it. I'll do the first paragraph until he finds the story. Santa Cruz. While organic fruits and vegetables are common at the grocery store, a clean cannabis movement is sprouting up as more and more cannabis users look for healthier alternatives. 40-year-old Manny Alvarez is what you call a boss, which is why every morning you'll find him checking in on his star employees. All 400 bajillion of them. Well, and that's interesting. I find it fascinating, he said, looking at a bin full of composted dirt. There are more microbes in a teaspoon of soil than there are stars in our galaxy.
And I'm back. Alvarez and his partner, Terry Sardinas, are part of a growing number of California cannabis farmers who only produce regenerative weed or clean weed. Regenerative agriculture essentially is just using nature to grow plants. Instead of chemicals and pesticides, Alvarez uses insects and worms found right in his Bird Valley Organics farm in Santa Cruz. When Alvarez, a third-generation farmer, stumbled on a book about regenerative agriculture, soon he was making his own compost and planting cover crops known to increase fertility. Wow.
8 years later, his cannabis plants are not only healthier, but more potent than ever. We'll have another minor will have other minor cannabinoids that are prevalent. My good Lord, I'm tongue twisted right this second. That are not just your THC or CBD, which everybody knows, he said. We'll pull off cannabinoids like CBG, CBN, and CBDA, and in high amounts. His clean weed has attracted more than just insects. On a sunny October morning, Alvarez was showing his new hybrid cannabis flower to Ryan Courtney, product director for cannabis wellness company Rosemary Jane. Courtney said that in the last couple of years, regenerative weed has become one of the most in-demand items at his dispensaries.
A lot of our customers are patients, he said, so they cannot afford to have chemicals or any other additives. And the last thing we want to do is anything unnecessary to their product and to their experience. While the regenerative movement is still in its infancy, Alvarez hopes it gains traction in the near future as more and more people look for healthier options. If you care about your body and you happen to smoke cannabis, you should probably care about cannabis you are smoking too, he said. Makes sense.
Yeah, and that's that story. Well, gosh, that was shorter than I thought it was going to be. And with that, I am going to click buttons and head back over here because I was looking at the comments. So it's medication time. It's time to pay some bills. So that means you're going to be hearing from our sponsors as Glenn and I get ready to bring you more cannabis news right after the break. We'll see you in 2.5.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Growing your own cannabis is easier than you think. Whether you're growing for recreational or medical purposes, BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. From the standard 4-plant recreational systems to the latest cutting-edge hydroponic equipment, BMA can customize your package and do it at discount prices. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville and ask us for a free estimate. Or call 613-967-9888 and we will give you an estimate over the phone.
The only way to go.
In February of 2022, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and Ted Smith were fined $6.5 million. This for helping 8,500 patients with access to medical cannabis. In our interview with Ted, he spoke to us about how people can donate to help in an upcoming court challenge. And here is part of that interview. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
For now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation or send e-transfers to save the VCBC at gmail.com. I guess those are the two easiest ways for people to help right now.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Haha, we are back and we are live. Glenn, we've got 5 more stories to cover, including our mushy moment. I love our mushy moment.
Okay.
I didn't click buttons while we were on break. I was too busy playing on my phone and smoking a joint, so I'm clicking buttons now. Ha! And we are heading over to MJ Biz Daily. NASCAD objects to Canopy plan to consolidate U.S. cannabis revenue.
Okay, here. Where do we go? The Nasdaq Stock Exchange objects to Canopy Growth plan to eventually consolidate the financial results of Canopy USA, according to a regulatory filing by the Canadian company with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The disclosure raises questions about whether the Ontario-based cannabis producer could keep its shares listed on the Nasdaq if it proceeds with its current plan to enter the U.S. cannabis market more quickly. Canopy on Tuesday announced a plan to speed its entry into the American market by launching Canopy USA, which would purchase the 3 American cannabis businesses that Canopy has agreed to buy once recreational cannabis was legal under U.S. law.
Which hopefully will come at some point in time before too long. Those businesses are New York-based multi-state operator Acreage Holdings, California extractor Jetty Extracts, and Colorado-headquartered cannabis edibles maker Wana Brands. Canopy's proposal calls for Canopy USA, not Canopy Growth, to own the 3 assets. Under the plan, Canopy Growth would hold non-voting exchangeable shares in Canopy USA, creating a ringed fence structure between it and Canopy USA, the company previously said. NASCAD has proposed that such financial consolidation is impermissible under NASCAD's general policies, according to the filing.
And Canopy shares trade with CGC on the Nasdaq and as weed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. A spokesperson for Canopy told MJ Biz Daily that the company did not include there was concern from the TSE in the proxy filing. However, as we disclosed, Nasdaq has raised concerns specifically regarding our intention to consolidate the financials of Canopy USA. And we've had ongoing communication with them and will continue to work to support compliance with their rules and regulations, the spokesperson said. We understand that we have an obligation to consolidate these results under U.S. GAAP rules, and we believe that there is time to continue this dialogue with Nasdaq, as company results would not be consolidated until after the closing of the proposed transactions next year, and we will continue to work with Nasdaq in an effort to resolve their concern.
Canopy said it doesn't agree with the basis of the Nasdaq objection. The company disagrees with Nasdaq's potential application of its general policies as the basis for its objections, since it contradicts the company's financial reporting requirements under the U.S. GAAP, including its application to THC plant touching business, the company said in its SEC filing. Canopy added that it intends to comply with the SEC's guidance in the application of the U.S. General Acceptance Accounting Principles GAAP for financial reporting purposes. Canopy said in its regular dialogue with auditors, regulatory bodies, and stock exchanges, but there is no assurance Nasdaq will harmonize their general policies with the SEC accounting guidance.
And as such, there is no assurance that we will remain listed on the stock exchanges we are currently listed on, which could have a material adverse effect on our business, financial condition, and results of operations. In a note to investors, Owen Bennett, a cannabis equity analyst from New York-based investment bank Jefferies Group, wrote that Canopy's filings suggest the company's continued NASDAQ and TSX listings might be uncertain. Jefferies noted that many might have assumed the new structure had the informal blessing of the exchanges. In last night's proxy, however, it appears this is not the case, with NASDAQ actually opposing the structure and Canopy flagging risk of delisting, the analyst wrote. What is very clear now, though, is that the developments here now become an absolute critical watch out, not only for Canopy, because he noted delisting might cause the stock to drop.
He said broader Canadian licensed producers, which can potentially do the same and buy U.S. assets, are watching closely, as are American multi-state operators that could potentially adopt the same structure and uplist to a major exchange. This is why SAFE, the Secure and Fair Enforcement Banking Act, passing could also be important, as this, alongside the recent Biden orders around a scheduling review, could help sway the exchange's decision, while it is also possible one exchange may okay it, likely the TSX, and another still says no, likely NASCAD, according to Jefferies. Yeah, that Safe Banking Act is it's really, really, really important to get done. Like, I mean, it holds back so much because the American banks just control so much.
And it's really hard when it's still listed as a non-medical substance.
Yeah, as a Schedule 1 drug.
Thanks. Don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah, we are heading over now back to my favorite publication, The Fresh Toast. Cannabis users are denied liver transplants for no apparent reason, study finds.
A study looked into the supposed risk between liver transplants and cannabis users, an issue that has long prevented these people from getting the organs they need. Despite the fact that large percentages of the U.S. population are cannabis users, they're often excluded from receiving liver transplant. This procedure is one that saves lives and showcases an instance in which cannabis users are discriminated against. Scientists and experts have historically had concern regarding cannabis' role in the body. In the case of liver transplants, there's a concern that cannabis might create a bigger risk for infections. The new study tried to understand why liver transplants and cannabis remains a topic of concern. Published earlier this month in the American Journal of Medical Sciences, the study surveyed different data in order to paint a picture of the risk of cannabis users who have managed to receive liver transplants.
Researchers analyzed the data from 111 patients who were also cannabis users. Only 32 of them received a liver transplant. Researchers compared the cannabis users who received a liver transplant with non-users who received the same procedure and found no statistical difference between the two. Solon explains that fungal infections are often a concern when talking about liver transplants, especially in the case of Aspergillus, a fungus that also present in the cannabis plant. Really, the fear is that by ingesting a cannabis product contaminated by this, it would complicate the transplant, resulting in failure or death. That's scary. Are you having that craziness happen to you again? Yeah, we lost Glenn for a minute. Yeah, you're silent again. I can't hear you. The study analyzed all possible factors that disapprove these claims. Our data indicates that marijuana is not associated with the increased risk of prospective noncompliance, other organ complications, infections, or death, concluded the researchers. As a single factor, cannabis may not need to be a contradiction for LT. I'm going to go back here. I see you talking, but I still can't hear you, Glenn. It's weird. While the study was small, it shows some of the ways in which the law and science discriminated against cannabis users, even when vouching for the user's health. The data demonstrates how important it is for scientists to study the plant fully, especially now as it gains popularity and is legalized across the country. So there you go. I see Glenn is still playing with buttons, and we can see you talking, but we can't hear you talking. Yeah, so I don't know what to think of that last story myself. I think it's kind of bumpkiss. Cannabis helps to fight infections. I don't believe that it's going to help create infections. So as some of the researchers said, they don't see a difference. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Glenn is over there pressing buttons, trying to get everything to work. So when he does get everything to work, he will pop back in and we'll be able to hear him. And until then, I will just keep going with the stories. We're heading over to MJ Biz Daily, Glenn, so you can be ready when your voice comes back. Debt financing eclipses equity in U.S. cannabis cultivation and retail fundings. So capital raises in the U.S. cannabis industry are down nearly 65% this year versus 2021. But lower stock prices and more creditworthy cannabis companies mean debt financing is now the preferred method to raise funds for the first time in years. Equity financing has dominated cannabis capital raises since at least 2018. But so far this year, debt funding has dominated, according to data collected by New York-based cannabis capital M&A and strategic advisory from Verdian Capital Advisors. To be sure, debt financing in the U.S. Cannabis industry is down by 39.9% compared to last year from January to October, according to Verdian data. Glenn's back. I'm going to come back over here and add him back to the stream. Welcome back, Glenn. Verdian data. But year-to-date debt now makes up 93% of capital raised by U.S. cultivation and retail companies and 55.7% in the U.S. industry overall. I'm pretty sure I can hear you now, too.
I can hear you, but I can't see where you're at here.
Yeah, so we are on the MJ Biz Daily. It is debt financing eclipses equity in U.S. cannabis cultivation and retail fundings. I am I am on the fourth paragraph. To be sure, debt financing in the U.S. cannabis industry is down by 39.9%, I just read. And then we were on to, but year-to-date debt now makes up 93% of capital raised by U.S. cultivation and retail companies and 55.7% in the U.S. industry overall.
The shift comes as more companies have spruced up their balance sheets and are better positioned to repay loans. Looking ahead, debt financing will continue to be the main means of raising capital until economic conditions change, according to analysts. Think lower interest rates, higher stock prices, federal cannabis reform, or some combination. And despite this year's shift in funding patterns, securing debt financing isn't easy. After bootstrapping Extraction Tech Stainless since 2011, Chief Marketing Officer Sean Winfield and his team at the Colorado-based company are at a crossroads. The past 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic have been tough, highlighted by supply chain difficulties, as well as added health and safety protocols at the extraction machinery company's 30,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Denver. Now, Extraction Tech and its cannabis industry partners are battling lower cannabis prices at a time when the general economy is confronting raging inflation. With expansion opportunities in emerging domestic markets and in Europe, as well as his company's plans to expand its training facility, Winfield is evaluating how best to secure investment at approximately $5 million for operating and growth capital.
What about debt financing? Winfield winces at the word debt, something Extraction Tech has avoided taking on thus far. We don't understand the implications of debt financing necessarily, Winfred said. We need some further education to find the right partners to really give us options that make sense and to educate us. Most debt financing deals are made between private companies, but 2 recent deals made by public companies demonstrate some of the intricacies involved. Most notably how interest rates and other terms are pegged to overall interest rates as well as risk spreads, such as the ICE BOFA US High Yield Index Option Adjusted Spread. And if you click on that, you can find out what that is about. The spread measures the difference between an index of corporate bonds and rates on government-backed US Treasury securities, which is to say that debt financing is getting more expensive.
Earlier this month, the Maryland and New Jersey subsidiaries of a Toronto-headquartered cannabis operator, TerraSend, which has operations in 5 states and Canada, closed a non-dilutive senior secured loan for $45.5 million from Pelorus Equity Group. Pelorus lends against the hard and soft costs of the real estate owned by a company, said Travis Goad, the financing manager's partner. We're also collateralized by the operating company and a license as well, so that if something were to ever go wrong or there was an issue, we could sell a functioning cannabis facility or lease it to somebody else, he explained. So we spend a lot of time underwriting on a per square foot basis what they should be able to produce in this market. $45.5 million comes at a 12.7% floating interest rate, which Frank Colombo, director of data analytics at Viridian, predicts will likely appear in more cannabis debt financing deals to come. 12.7% sounds pretty high.
Oh, that's huge. Again, sorry for swearing. I apologize. Yeah, that's a very large interest rate. Yeah. He cited the Federal Reserve's recent interest rate increases to fight inflation, as well as expectations of further rate hikes. Wow. Is that potentially risky for cannabis companies? Yes, Colombo said, because it's 12.77% now. By the time the Fed finishes rising rates, what is it going to be? it could be another 100 basis points up from that. In August, California-based Lowell Farms raised a total of $6.4 million through 2 rounds of debt financing to be used for working capital purposes, automation, investments, and expansion into new markets, according to a news release announcing the deal. We are grateful for investor support as a testimony to the strategy we have employed to differentiate ourselves, Lowell Farm Chair George Allen said in a statement.
And this financing allows Lowell to bring capabilities to market that have been in development for years. Lowell secured a 5.5% interest rate, but the debentures are convertible and include excisable warrants for shares of its subsidiary, Indus Holdings, Inc., at 0.2613 and 42-month term from the date of issuance. According to Viridian data, equity-linked debt deals dropped off earlier this year, but have bounced back to account for about 50% of debt financing deals in the U.S. The difference this time around is that equity-linked deals are more expensive. In 2021, larger multi-state operators with good credit could finance debt for around 8%, according to Viridian data. In the case of Lowell, Colombo estimates that the cost is around 30%. Wow. I think Lowell had a liquidity problem and they needed to raise cash, Colombo said. It's likely not a financing of opportunity, but a financing of need. Lowell did not immediately return MJ Biz Daily's request for comment. 30%.
30%. We thought 12.77 was high.
Yeah.
Michigan-based retailer Knox closed a $15 million debt financing deal with Altmore Capital in August. The terms weren't disclosed. Knox CEO Tommy Nafso said he pitched to about half a dozen potential capital partners and received an array of offers before striking a deal with Altmore. Nafso said he focused on clearly articulating the market opportunities for the 3 retail licenses the company holds in Grand Rapids, the executive team's experience working at companies such as Amazon, Ralph Lauren, and Domino's Pizza, Knox customer-focused goals, future expansion plans, and how well-positioned the company would be should market conditions change. Since securing the funding, Knox has opened its first store while investing in e-commerce delivery services and ensuring that the store design was as close to the renderings as possible. It feels like you're in a different universe in our store, Nafso gushed. Last week, Knox announced its latest phase of its growing plan, a partnership with Cookies, the California-based cannabis brand, to open a 3,000 square foot Cookies location in Grand Rapids.
And Colombo anticipates debt financing to continue to be the main means of raising capital until economic conditions change, with lower interest rates, stronger markets, legislative changes, or a combination of the above. But he warns borrowers to look beyond interest rates and closely at prepayment provisions. If banking reform legislation passes, which would boost cannabis stock prices, or interest rates decrease, agreeing to a provision requiring a premium on a payment or a minimum number of earned interest could mean losing out on a less expensive borrowing conditions in the future. That's one of the reasons why debt is not as down as much as equity, Colombo said. If you have to raise money because you have liquidity issues, or maybe you have a really great opportunity that you have to come up with cash for, the only way you're going to really want to do it is with debt.
Interesting.
Makes sense. Now I only have one more story up here. I don't know which stories I'm missing.
We've only got 2 more left. We are heading to Forbes next. Germany moves to legalize cannabis, and then we will be heading to the mushroom story.
Okay, let me just find the Germany one.
Sure, you do that, and I'm going to add it to the stream and head over here and tell you that we're heading to Forbes and we're flying across the ocean. Germany moves to legalize cannabis, and it would be the largest European country to do so.
Well, I'm not going to be able to get that story. If I click on that story, I'm right back where I was before.
Okay, well, don't do that. I'll read it. You comment. How's that?
Okay.
German lawmakers on Wednesday approved plans to decriminalize the purchase and ownership of recreational cannabis, according to multiple news outlets. A significant step on the road to legalization and an opportunity for North American industry to gain a foothold in Europe's richest and most populous country. Germany's federal cabinet reportedly approved a proposal from the health ministry to legalize the purchase and possession of small amounts of cannabis for recreational use, as well as its sale and production, which is really exciting. Yeah. The plan presented by health minister. Oh, the health minister did it too. Karl Lauterbach. I don't have a good German accent, folks.
Easier for you than me.
Would allow adults to purchase and possess up to 30 grams of cannabis for their own recreational consumption. That's about the same as what we have here in Canada. You're allowed to purchase an ounce at a time, and our government ounces are 30 grams, not 28. It's weird.
Wow.
Yeah. I found that when I first got my license and I was ordering from LPs, like they counted ounces as 30 grams.
I never knew that.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I don't know if they still do it anymore. I haven't purchased from a legal government in a long time that way.
Is that to account for loss with like weight loss?
I really have no idea. I think it's just easier for them to think in terms of 30 than 28. 30, 60, 90, 28 times 2 is what, right? Like, I mean, I just think it's easier math.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Kind of like we have a baker's dozen is 13 for whatever reason. This is kind of like the baker's ounce of cannabis. Yep. The government would regulate cannabis production, sale, and distribution as part of legalization efforts. This gentleman, which I'm not going to, what was his first name again? We're going to go with it. Karl, said at a press conference, according to Dutch Welle, cultivation would be limited to 2 or 3 plants per person, and sales would be limited to specialist stores. Pretty much how the world's going right now. Advertising and marketing cannabis products will also be banned, according to the plans. Karl, because I'm not going to use his last name, said Karl and I are on a first name basis, said that the proposal makes for the most liberal legalization of cannabis in Europe, according to Deutsche, as well as its most regulated market. I'm not saying that name properly either, but that's okay. Everybody can understand what I'm saying, I hope. The health minister has touted the legalization drive as part of a safety-first approach to the drug that acknowledges the drug's continued use and health risks alongside the black market currently fueling it. He said the approach could serve as a model for the whole of Europe, where only a handful of countries have decriminalized recreational cannabis, and only one, being Malta, has legalized it. The framework marks a potential boon for Germany's young cannabis industry, as well as the North American firms already profiting from legalization and are keen to expand. What we don't know.
I love it. I think it's a great thing. They have lots of money in Germany. They have a big, huge population. It's a good thing.
I think it's fantastic. Like they say, I mean, Germany is like, it's one of the biggest countries over there, and it's a powerhouse, right? So I think for Germany to do what they're doing and legalize it, I think it's going to make a big impact on like not just Europe, but the world.
Well, other countries see what the big like G7 kind of countries do, and they follow suit usually later because they know there's money to be made. And let's face it, government runs on how much money they can make.
Yeah. Oh, every government, of course. Yeah. The cabinet's approval kicks off a potentially lengthy process to legalize cannabis. Of course, it's a lengthy process. As a member of the EU, German laws must also comply with the European legislation, and lawmakers fear a poorly crafted framework would be torn down by the European Court of Justice. The court has previously said member states should prevent the sale of cannabis, a possible issue for Germany's proposal of government regulation. Yeah, I mean, like, really. According to Bloomberg, the German government plans to explore limiting the amount of THC in products for adults aged 21 and under. That's kind of what Quebec is doing here, limiting the THC and only selling ground cannabis.
It doesn't make sense to me.
No. THC is a key psychoactive component in cannabis and is responsible for the drug's high. Potent weed with higher amounts of THC can have a greater impact and is associated with more health risks than milder forms of drugs. All you're going to do is throw up if you green out. It's but you know, it's their way of trying to keep control of it, right? Is to say that it's going to cause all of these issues. But I think as cannabis users, we know that It sucks to green out, but it's not going to, cannabis does not kill, it heals.
It's only helped me. I mean, I haven't had any problems with it. I've stopped using it for weeks at a time. When I had to, I never had a big problem with that.
Yep.
It helps me a lot. So I know a bunch of people that it's helped, and I think it's a good product. And I'm glad to see that the health minister announced this instead of the president or something like that.
Yeah, something the health minister went in saying we have to heal people. I think that's fantastic.
It's a good thing and I'm glad that it's Germany because like this, their dollar might. How's that?
Yep, for sure. Guess what time it is, Glenn?
It's my Mushie moment time. I love that time.
I love that music. We are heading over to Marijuana Moment. The DEA faces new legal challenges over denying psilocybin, I always call it psilocybin rescheduling petition and doctors' federal waiver request.
The Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, has again rejected a petition to reschedule psilocybin and a doctor's request for a federal waiver to obtain and administer the psychedelic to terminally ill patients, prompting a new set of legal challenges in federal court. Sunil Agarwal, a Washington state-based palliative care specialist, has been fighting DEA for psilocybin access for over a year, but the agency has denied his petition to place the substance in a lower drug schedule, as well as a doctor's waiver request under federal rights to try law. The most recent rescheduling denial was handed down in a letter last month, with DEA saying that the Food and Drug Administration had not authorized psilocybin as a medicine, and so it must remain in Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. I thought this right to try law was supposed to be a go-around against that.
Yeah.
The letter doesn't directly access the key point of the rescheduling petition, which is that the FDA has designated the psychedelic as a breakthrough therapy for severe depression. So the FDA has designated it a breakthrough therapy, but they haven't authorized it. I don't understand. This is like a paper trail that's no good.
Yeah, no, it's the government's way, right? Attorneys filed a challenge to the rescheduling petition denial in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit last week. Opening briefs are due from the petitioners in January, on January 9th, and the respondents by February 7th. In a separate but related complaint, attorneys for Agrawal petitioned the same court last month to review the DEA's denial of a request for a federal waiver to allow the doctor to access psilocybin to treat anxiety and depression in his severely ill patients. Agrawal, who serves as a co-director of the Advanced Integral Medical Science, AIMS, said federal RTT statute makes clear that seriously ill people qualify for investigational drugs, including psychedelics in Schedule 1 of the CSA. But the DEA says that because the RTT law only explicitly discusses exemptions under Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, the FDCA, it doesn't have implications for the CSA. Too many letters. Plaintiffs contend that that's not the case, as the CSA has a section that says the DEA can't interpret the drug law in a way that conflicts with the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act.
Yeah, the agency previously rejected the RTT waiver request last year, which resulted in a litigation in the same federal court, but the court rejected the case on procedural grounds in February, which with judges saying they could not reach the merit of the challenge because the DEA hadn't made clear that its denial constituted a rule that could be appealed, a final rule that could be appealed. Plaintiffs then made repeated attempts with the DEA on record about whether it had made it a final rule. The agency didn't give a clear answer for months, but finally confirmed that its decision was final in a letter that was dated in September and received by Agarwal this month. After receiving the confirmation, the petitioners pulled their earlier legal challenge and filed a new request for a review last week. As part of a team working to open access to psilocybin for therapeutic use, we are pleased to have elicited a prompt, clear, and appealable denial of the psilocybin rescheduling petition. Catherine Tucker, who's the director of advocacy for the National Psychedelics Association, who has been involved in the psilocybin litigation, told Marijuana Moment last week.
We will take our very strong arguments that psilocybin does not belong on Schedule 1 into court and look forward to successful outcome there, she said. Through the RTT litigation and this new suit challenging the refusal to initiate rescheduling proceedings, we are pressing forward to open access, knowing, and I hope they freaking win, knowing that those with life-threatening conditions could be benefited with this therapy. I just want to break in and say we have this new program here in Canada. We had 5 people approved pretty quickly for psilocybin therapy, and they were end of life. They had end of life diseases, so they were allowed by the government of Canada to have psilocybin therapy to deal with their end of life. And it has been amazing for all of them. It's really, really helped them. They did a documentary on one. I'm still waiting to see it. So it's really exciting. But then they said, okay, well, we're going to move over to this new, I think it's called the SAP program, Special Access Program, to make it easier for everybody. Your doctor can prescribe it and blah, 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 blah. And more people have been denied or having to wait longer periods of time. They said that we were going to get like a 48-hour turnaround. And I know people that are still waiting and waiting and waiting. And I know of people that have gotten denied under this program. And when they clear, and it was an end of lifer that was denied. It was the first one I heard about. Somebody who has cancer and has been given 6 months, and they were freaking denied under the new SAP program that is supposed to give us all like wonderful access, blah, blah, blah. And it's infuriating. And I mean, obviously similar things are going on here. I mean, we should be allowed. This is an amazing medication. And I mean, I know that on Monday they reported about the Nova Scotia company that is now getting ready to start their study on psilocybin for depression to get it legalized. I mean, that's happening literally a 2-minute walk away from me here in Windsor, Nova Scotia. I'm so proud of that. I was supposed to be part of that. But we need these to pop up all over the place, and we need them to get them done quickly. And we need the results of the studies, because that's going to help the governmental people do what they need to do to reschedule psilocybin. So I hope that they continue to push for this in the States, because it's coinciding with what's going on here in Canada right now with this particular study. If these things can get done and these things can be moved, like they can be decriminalized or moved from Schedule 1 or legalized for medical purposes or whatever, it's going to be a huge step for mental health, not to mention other health, but a massive step for mental health in North America. And I'm really, all I can do is sit here and keep my fingers crossed and hope that, what they're talking about here goes forward, and that this study here in Nova Scotia does amazingly well, which I'm sure it will. So I'm really excited to watch this, and I think I lost my place. I
think it's kind of amazing how fast it's actually moving, because I compare it to the cannabis debate that went on for 40, 50 years. And the psilocybin, as far as my experience with it, is fairly new to the masses. How's that?
Yeah.
And it's moving pretty fast.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot better. And I think that's because of the experience we had with cannabis.
Yeah, absolutely. And it hasn't been criminalized as long. I mean, same as other psychedelics. I mean, what I use was only criminalized like less than 5 years ago. Wow. Right. And it's already on the SAP list, iboga, but unfortunately we don't have any legal practitioners here in Canada. So even if you get a prescription for iboga, there's nobody that can legally give it to you yet. But like we need to push these back to being legal, because then more people can get helped. Yeah. So I lost my place. I'm not sure if you know where we are, but I apologize for losing my place on my rant.
DEA is also facing increased political pressure from bipartisan lawmakers who recently took an extra step to provide additional congressional clarification, filing companion bills in the House and Senate in July to reaffirm that the scope of the RTT policy should include Schedule 1 drugs like psilocybin. The legislation would make a technical amendment to the text of the existing statute, with the primary purpose of clarifying, in the face of DEA objections, that RTT policy, as signed into law by former President Donald Trump, already means that patients with terminal health conditions can obtain and use investigational drugs that have undergone clinical trials, even if they're Schedule 1 controlled substances. So the government is telling the DEA that this is what they intended, but the DEA is still going against them. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they're reading it for themselves. So they now have two people taking them to court, and I think that's like, I'm so excited to. I hope that you and I get to do the follow-up story so I can read it. Do you know what I mean?
I hope so too.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. The bills were filed about 6 months after bipartisan members of Congress sent a letter led by Representative Earl Blumenauer, who is Democrat, requesting that the DEA allow terminally ill patients to use psilocybin as an investigational treatment without the fear of federal prosecution. In May, Senators Cory Booker and Brian Schatz, who are both Democratic, separately pushed top federal officials to provide an update on research into the therapeutic potential of psychedelics, arguing that ongoing federal prohibition has stymied studies. I mean, psilocybin, mushrooms, and not just psilocybin, but mushrooms as a whole, as I am learning, like, I mean, they're phenomenal for you. I go to your grocery store, buy all the mushrooms and eat all the mushrooms because they all have health benefits. Like, I mean, one, for example, lion's mane, it's completely legal. There's no psychedelic in it whatsoever. There's zero psilocybin. It is amazing for focus, like amazing for focus. It is like, I mean, it just kind of, woof, it brings it in. So if you're studying, or if you need to read, or if you are in a job where you need to focus, lion's mane is such an amazing mushroom to get and use. And you can buy it on Amazon in teas and in coffees and different ways to ingest it. I mean, you can now Jameson, the vitamin brand Jameson, they have a mushroom complex out that you can go to your local pharmacy and purchase. Pardon me, and it has cordyceps and chaga and lion's mane and in this. It's absolutely wonderful. I have got a friend that who is combining the Rick Simpson oil therapy that he came up with a 7 mushroom blend with no psychoactive mushrooms, like, so no psilocybin, and he is helping to fight cancer with this combination.
Wow.
Legal mushrooms, and it's the combination and the adaptogens that go in there with them, and they're working with the oil, and they're eradicating cancer. It is beautiful to watch. And so mushrooms are super, super, super important, and we should all be eating as many mushrooms as we possibly can. All of them.
I've learned more today than I learned in most of these shows that we do.
I'm sorry. I like to babble, and I'm really excited about mushrooms. I'm studying them more and more every day, and learning more and more every day about them. And I think that we should all be eating so many more mushrooms. Like I said, go to your grocery stores, buy what they have, get this Jameson complex. It's really exciting to see all of this happening and know what it's going to do for people.
Awesome. I hope this legal challenges work.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But that's it, folks. I'm going to be done babbling now. I could go on and on about mushrooms for the next while, but that may not make our boss Al happy. So that's it. That's our Reefer Reporter for today, October 27th, 2022, from the Legacy420.com news desk. And in closing, we'd like to say thank you for watching, and thank you to our sponsors, BMA Hydroponics, Legacy420.com, and the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop in Campbellford, Ontario, which I got to visit when I was there. And don't forget, you can catch Reefer Reporters Reverend Kelly on Al this coming Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Atlantic, because of course we are in the Atlantic, so I'm going to say that both of us are. So thank you, Glenn. It's been a great show. I always enjoy chatting with you and doing the show. And hopefully next week we won't have the technical difficulties. They suck, don't they?
Yes, they do. And when I don't know where I'm at and everything has to get closed down, it's crazy. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
And I'm far from a computer guy, so.
Yeah, me too. Gal. But yeah, thank you so much, Glenn. Listen, you have a great rest of your day, and you folks out there have a great rest of your day. We will see you all next week. Peace.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.